Councilmember Johnny Camus, Councilmember-elect Matt Mahan, San Jose PRNS, and MIG Design. The Almaden Valley Rotary Club will be leading the fundraising efforts, but we can't reach our goal without your help. We have worked side by side with many of you in the past, and we ask for your help again. I assure you, this will be a project that we will all be proud of. Again, thank you for joining us. So why are we here? Well, simply put, we need you to become a Playgarden advocate and ambassador. But we can't ask you to do this until we provide you with more information about the project. In this presentation, we will learn about the legacy project, and we will preview the Playgarden conceptual designs. Ultimately, we'd like to hear from you throughout the presentation. Our goal is to make this interactive as much as possible given the current constraints. We've had to make a few adjustments around COVID, but throughout the presentation, we encourage you to ask questions in the chat box. Simple questions will be answered via chat, and more complex questions will be held for Q&A sessions at the end. Additionally, you can see that we're going to have polls. So those polls will be asked in the chat, and you can reply back in the chat. So our goal is to provide you with enough information and enthusiasm that when you leave this presentation, you will be inspired to help make this project a reality. We will discuss in more detail after we've heard from our speakers what it means to become a Playgarden ambassador. So we'll briefly go over the agenda for today. So first we'll hear from Councilmember Johnny Camus, and we're very happy and fortunate to have District 10 Councilmember-elect Matt Mahan continue on the torch after Johnny. Then we'll hear from our design team. We'll hear from Eve Zudi at San Jose PRNS and Melissa Erickson at MIG Consultants. We will also hear from testimonials from members of our community, our neighbors, our friends, and then we'll get started. But first off, I'd like to introduce to you, which you already all know, our friend, Councilmember Johnny Camus.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ken. And I want to also thank all the elected officials that are actually on the call with us as well. Pam Foley and the elected officials, Linda Lazat and Gary Kremen from our water district, our partners as well. So thank you all for joining us this morning, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let's move to this picture. We'll start with a little quiz. Where is this in the Almaden Lake Park? Put it up in your chat box. Let's see how many people could guess where this is. No, it's not a very hard quiz. Okay, I don't see anybody putting it in the chat box. No one. Anybody?
I think it's Almaden Lake.
Which side of the Almaden Lake?
Okay, I know the answer to the test.
All right, okay, we'll go on.
Well, we want to check the chat. We want to get some feedback in the chat. We want to make sure everyone can use the chat. And
yes.
we want to make sure everyone can raise their hand so they can participate in upcoming polling questions.
Olaf is on the call as well, and he answered correctly, the expressway side. It is the tot lot that was built back in 2005. And, you know, most tot lots come to their, useful life at the end of 15 years, and this one is there right now. Thankfully, our team at PRNS and applied for an all-inclusive playground grant, and we received it from the county. And it was one of those matching dollar grants, and we're lucky to have it. So after we received the grant, we reached out to the community, had some community meetings, did some surveys, and we discovered that there was so much potential at this site because of its great natural design and topography. And so this actually led us, our team and my staff, to talk to the PRNS and to explore other possibilities. And we actually used the playground in downtown San Jose, the one that was done by the Rotary Club, as a model. And we asked them, hey, can you make this, add some features and see if we can have a bigger design. So after doing that, we also approached naturally the Rotary Club of Almaden Valley. And because of their experience, I'm hoping they had lots of experience with the downtown Rotary Club Playgarden. And we also worked together on the Welcome to Almaden sign. So we were great teaming up together many times. And so we then found out that they were actually looking for a project for their 50th anniversary legacy project. And so that's how we formed a task force. So this task force came about, and then all of a sudden we started experiencing project problems like COVID, and the fact that the grant was going to expire. So we asked for an extension, and we overcame a lot of these challenges, and we're trying to overcome some of them as we speak. So then we asked the design team from PRNS and MIG consultants to create and design some features to see if we got more money in, what can we do? So it's an imagining project, and serendipitously, I mean, I think that the timing all came together here. We had the lifespan of the tot lot at the end of its life. We got the county grant, and the Rotary was looking for that new project for their 50th anniversary legacy. So we couldn't even actually time this any better. And now the reason why we're asking and doing this presentation is we want to take this project from good, because as you'll see in a few minutes, we do have a good project, but we want to take this good project and turn it into a great project, a project that everyone can be proud of. And that's why we're all here. So I also wanted to include Councilmember Matt Mahan, because honestly, my term is coming to an end here in a few weeks, and he's going to have to do the heavy lifting after I'm gone. And I'm so proud that him and I share so many opinions and views together. And I'm glad he's on the phone call with us here. So I'm going to mute myself and introduce Matt and ask him to speak a little if he can.
Thanks so much, Johnny, and hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I want to thank Councilmember Camus for being really generous with his time and including me in all of these and many other conversations. I feel well prepared and that I have a lot of the context I need to step into office and hit the ground running. And I'm particularly excited about this project. So I just wanted to express that, my expectation is that there will be total continuity between our offices on this project in particular. I think it's truly, as you're about to see when you take a look at the designs that'll be shared, that this is a once in a generation opportunity to leave something behind that will have a positive impact for thousands and thousands of residents for many years to come. When you combine this with the other changes that are coming at the lake, this is just going to be a really incredible asset for our community and people from all over the South Bay, frankly. So I'm extremely excited about this. I appreciate all the work that's been done by everyone who's presenting today. And I'm really looking forward to working with the Rotary Club, PRNS, the county, and other stakeholders to move this forward. This will be a top priority for my office, and I'm just super excited about the potential of this project. So thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing the rest of the presentation.
And thank you, Matt. And so before I introduce the design team, I want to get commitments from everybody. I'm asking for a commitment on supporting the Rotary Club and our task force members in making this project a reality. And I'm asking you to become a Playgarden ambassador. I'm also asking you to raise enough money to take this project from good to great. So before we get too far into asks, let me introduce Yves Zudi. And Yves is a division manager for the City of San Jose, Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services, overseeing that. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the abbreviation PRNS. So, and that he oversees the Capital Improvement Program Division. He oversees delivery of parks, trails, and projects. Yves has guided planning of a 100-mile interconnected trail network throughout the city of San Jose that serves recreational and commuting objectives. Yves has secured over $40 million in grant funding from local, state, and federal sources. Yves has a degree in civil engineering from San Jose State, and I want to welcome Yves. Please, I'll mute myself and you can begin your presentation.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, and thank you everyone for being here and working with us on this really exciting project. I'm delighted to share some information about the work we've done so far and talk to you about the future and what's possible here. Just to talk about where we are. We are on the west side of the lake, near the Almaden Expressway side that was mentioned in the chat. And I'll also mention there was a comment in the chat about a missing rope structure. That's been removed because we had a supply chain issue. So that's, as I talked to you about this project, that's one of the things we have in mind. We're going to make sure that what we put in here are things that we can keep up with and make sure that they last a long time. The park as we've developed it right now is based on that county grant that we secured, and it is intentionally developed to be all inclusive. And my partner in this effort, Melissa Erickson, will talk to you more about all-inclusive design. But I wanted to let you know our intent from the very beginning has been to make this a playground where children of all abilities and their parents and guardians can enjoy being and have full access. So next slide, please. As we move forward, please. As we convey what we intend to do here, I wanted to let you know that we've developed a strategic plan that Council approved about 6 months ago, and it reinforces what we intend to be as a public agency. So what you'll see differently from Parks and Rec in our plans are we continue to talk about projects and services and programs and caring about this community, but we're also putting a lot of intentionality around 5 guiding principles. The first and foremost is stewardship. And what that means for this project and all of our parks is we're going to take care of what we have. So when I discuss the issues with the rope swing, that or the climbing structure, that's where we're putting our heads in there. We're being more intentional. How are we going to build things that we can keep up with and that are sustainable? Our next guiding principle is nature. And in a playground, there may not be a perception of many opportunities, and it's not that we're going to have a landscape here, but the playground is going to have many references to the space that it's within. We're along a lake, we're along a river, there's going to be aquatic themes possible. We will tell the story of the species that are in this area, and because many children have a very different way of playing. Each child is different, and some children need places that are more quiet, or they need to be able to get away from activity at times. And so Melissa can talk to you about how nature will be a theme for those wonderful spaces in this playground. Equity and access is important to us, and this all-inclusive playground is called a Playgarden because it is intentionally meant to be 100% all-inclusive. And we want to make sure that every child in this community, no matter what their ability, is able to come in this playground and find wonderful things to do, a great place to exercise, meet children, and benefit from play. Play isn't just fun and games, it's where you develop balance, social skills, the ability to interact, and the opportunity to meet people of many different backgrounds and abilities. So this project plays into that very directly. Next, identity is huge. I'm a lifelong San Josean. I suspect many of you are as well. And if someone said, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of San Jose? I kind of struggle. And so we like the idea that we're going to be using our park system to make them a stronger sense of identity for our city. So if you like Danny the Dragon at Happy Hollow Zoo, if you like Lupe the Mammoth on the Guadalupe River Park, or if you've been learning about the Light Tower project that's proposed for downtown, we want to do more of these projects so that people see San Jose as a wonderful place of things to see and do. And lastly, public life is huge. We are a resource to this community, and we want to develop this playground and all of our parks to be welcoming and engaging, so there's always something to do in your own backyard. So we're going to talk to you more about these concepts, and Melissa will talk to you about concept 2 and 3. I will tell you on concept 1, this original concept improved all the play equipment, replaced it, and enhanced it. The climbing structure comes back, but in a more sustainable form. There's a tot lot and a youth lot, swings, teeter-totters, spinners, climbing, a variety of things, with a central area for parents and guardians and a pathway that leads you to a picnic area. And the dotted gray line is important because that's the boundary line between the water district and the city. But we're very good friends with the water district, as you are with the county. And so we're working closely so that edge is respected, but we're able to enjoy the benefits of proximity to this larger open space. The challenge in our design here was with the $1.3 million budget, we could afford to replace all the equipment, bring it up to new all-inclusive standards, but surface it in a fiber material, which is a loose bark. And so it meets access requirements, but it has to be maintained regularly to meet that requirement. So this has more of a maintenance obligation. When we talk to the community, folks like what we're doing, but as in many community meetings, people said they wanted to see more and better quality content, including things like resilient surfacing. So it's easy to maneuver in the area and access for persons of all abilities. So that was on our minds as we hear about this opportunity from the Rotary Club. We can actually meet what the community was wanting to do, and we can make this a true play garden. So I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Melissa Erickson. I want to tell you a little bit about MIG. This is a firm that we've worked with for years. We've done some amazing projects together. They're a wonderful group to work with, very talented people, bring in lots of great ideas. But something that people may not know is that MIG as a company is the company that wrote the book on all-inclusive play. And so we intentionally hired them because we want to do this type of project all in many areas of San Jose. And so we went to the absolute experts in this topic. So Melissa will talk you through that and how that engaged, how it informed the design of alternatives 2 and 3. Thank you so much, and I look forward to your support.
And before Melissa starts, we just want to read a quick bio for her. So Melissa Erickson, Director of Community Design Services at MIG, is a licensed landscape architect and designer who focuses on making the public realm welcoming and engaging for people of all ages and abilities. Her work encompasses a diverse range of outdoor spaces from parks and plazas to trails and streets, with the common purpose of connecting people to nature and fostering positive associations to story, memory, and place. Play for all is a core belief, and inclusive play is one of her areas of expertise. She is currently working on 6 inclusive playgrounds in 3 states, 2 of those being for the city of San Jose. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you very much. So it's rarely that you get a chance to say that literally we did write the book, but we did. We've also had the chance to work with the U.S. Access Board over the last several decades and having developed national standards, trying to take a look at a broader range of inclusivity and accessibility across a range of amenities. We've also worked with the U.S. Army Corps. So we actually have quite a bit of expertise. And even though our Play for All book is now about 33 years old, we've been practicing it for a long time. So I think that brings a lot of diversity of effort, and also the recognition how important it is for us to be removing these barriers. Play is fundamental to how we all as humans develop. It is critical for how we learn social cues, cooperation, engagement. Play is fundamental, and we take play really seriously, which is, I think, the part we're looking for. So I want to give you just a brief overview on why it's so important, because this is where we spend the bulk of our time. This is the existing playground, as you're quite aware. So, you know, we had a modest budget to look at with the existing grant, but one of the key things as we were working with the city was really trying to take a look at how can we make this much more engaging and more interesting for everyone. Play does not stop at the age of 12. And one of the things that we think is really important in trying to take a look at is really looking at the range of opportunities for people to engage and providing the biggest variety of ways for people to engage in any activity, because one size does not fit all. But if we can provide a range of ways for people to engage, then there's something for everyone to try and take a look at. I think it's also important for us all to realize that it's also not just kids, it's caregivers, it's parents, it's trying to take a look at veterans, looking at seniors, and this whole idea that we kind of talk about ourselves as being, right now, I am temporarily able-bodied, but at some point in time, there may be something that happens that limits my ability to engage fully, or that needs special adaptation. So if we start trying to take a look at a broader range, that's where we start getting a richness and opportunity. We also try and make sure that we're looking at all 8 senses. That's usually the one that kind of throws people. We know the standard 5, right? You know, our sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. But there are 3 others that are really kind of critical to play and trying to take a look at this range that we're trying to incorporate in all these designs. And that has to do with vestibular, that's kind of basic balance, where your body is in space. There's proprioceptive, which is this bigger awareness of where your body elements are in relation to one another. But then there's interoceptive, which particularly falls into the autism spectrum as a consideration, and the fact that your basic human primary functions, like hunger, needing to go to the restroom, that can become somewhat overwhelming, that you actually can't function without trying to take a look at it. So we're trying to take a look at all 8 of those as components and taking a look at how can we provide the most variety of opportunities for people to engage in these spaces so that everyone can have a chance to try and take a look at it. It's all about variety, and it's also about risk, because risk is really important. And that's why if you provide a range, people can then start to identify what's working for them, as well as have a range of opportunities. So the city challenged us with trying to take a look at, we were looking for a little bit wider variety of opportunity. And so I said, let's think beyond the existing budget. And so if we can flip to the next one, we started trying to take a look at what can we actually add to this process so that we can actually provide a broader range of opportunity, really kind of tie more specifically into the actual location, take a look at a range of different activities that can provide opportunity. And so I'm going to walk you through the design just a little bit and bringing a little bit more imaginative play into that process. So the tot area is re-envisioned so we can get a little bit of topography and trying to take a look at that, providing a range of interpretive play with some bird nests or climbable structures, and trying to take a look at a range of what that can address, keeping with the existing swings, but replacing the seats so there's a broader range of opportunity. If you can hold for just a moment, I've got a little bit of background sound. Sorry, I have some background noise there. That's what happens with being remote, right? So sorry if that was disturbing. So the tot area, trying to provide a little bit more interpretive play so we can provide a broader range. But then looking at the 5 to 12, the southern half, and really trying to take a look at what we can kind of do to maximize that opportunity, bringing back a net climber component so we can provide additional range of expertise, working on the upper body, a range of experiences there, bringing in some spinning components, looking at accessibility. The big kind of wow on option 2 is looking at a zip line and providing 2 options that provide back and forth. In all of these is really trying to take a look at making sure we have shade, places for refuge, so that people can be both in the activity but also removed, chances for opportunity, collaboration, and also looking at sensory. So we came up with this. And then of course, there's this dashed line looking at kind of the water district, and there's this really amazing opportunity with that hillside. And so the city said, let's take a look at another option. If we think even bigger about other opportunities, we can take a look in for even bigger engagement, that would be great. So we then came up with the next option. So this one builds on what we had in the last opportunity, but has 2 big pieces. One, there's a slight shift in the 5 to 12 area, and then we address the hillside. So we keep the tot area as far as those components. We keep the majority of the components that were in the 5 to 12, but what we're able to do is create a little bit more space in the center to create more of an island with additional seating, sensory planting, shade structures and components. But then the best part is really kind of working this experiential trail that allows us to traverse the hillside grade and trying to address opportunities, introducing nature play as an opportunity, bringing in a basket swing that allows a little bit more collaborative swinging, and then working into the hillside itself and actually providing a kind of a whole slope with a variety of different sensory components for slides and climbing on that opportunity, including a side little stair for a shortcut, but really working on trying to take a look at how can we increase the additional sensory opportunities and really take advantage of the setting and location, which allows theming and bringing this all into a balance. There had been a question raised about the concerns about the pending improvements to the lake and addressing that. And so what we were able to do is that line is kind of our hold to line. This will not necessarily be impacted. We'll have to do some coordination just for some of the impacts on construction. But this allows us to actually tie into the new creek that will be the more dominant feature closer to the component, and allows us the opportunity with some of the more creative and kind of nuanced components with some of the art components in here to really kind of draw in that theming of creek and habitat and flora that's really specific to these areas. These are some of the different inspirational images that go with these as far as what these may look like. We aren't tied to specific equipment pieces at this point, but this includes kind of a range of the different experiences that we're looking for. Really trying to take a look at kind of a richness and character so that people know that they are at Almaden Lake, they aren't anywhere else, really kind of making that kind of a key part of the theming and experience into that. Really trying to take a look at a range of upper body, lower body, taking a look at sensory components, bringing in seasonality into the components, as well as kind of these smaller grain details that can be incorporated, particularly in the last option where we have a little bit more budget. But so there's different pieces that people, when they come, there's something new that they see. There are surprises, there are new experiences to come in so that people come back for a longer time. The other thought is that this is a place where we want people to be able to come and be able to spend a significant amount of time so that there's a broader range that has something for everyone to bring into that process. These are a couple just little inspirational images as far as little vignettes is kind of what we call them, as far as what they might look and feel like. This idea of trying to take a look at a bird's nest, bringing in a little tot hill area so we can work in a tot slide, some climbable art components. But this idea that, you know, part of this is, you know, we play in our mind. And so providing a framework in these play areas so we can all create something that is really how we want to explore and experience, but the opportunity to provide a broader range, and also trying to make sure that we're addressing context. And again, you know, it's wheels, it's looking at people who have mobility devices, it's looking at people who have a variety of sensory needs. The autism spectrum is the largest growing population of folks that have differing needs. And so trying to take a look at that broad range and making sure that we're trying to take a look at as many different ways for people to engage in that space as possible. This is an idea of what the hillside slide zone might look like, looking at some dignity exits to try and address folks that come down and might need a little bit more time getting off, different ways to climb up and down, looking at accessible turf surfacing to address that so that it becomes more of a larger, broad area to try and take a look at. But again, providing as many different opportunities so you can slide down with someone else, you can slide by yourself, you can climb, there's different changing grades within there. And then the zip line, which of course, you know, draws a lot of attention just because it has a nice little ooh. And as I said, risk is really important, and trying to take a look at what's the range of opportunity for people to engage in different activities and providing different opportunities. There are a variety of different accessible seats that have been put in. It does require transfers, but then folks can still have that experience of flying through space. So it really gets to some of that vestibular stimulation that's really critical in trying to address the play components. And with that, I will pass the torch.
All right, we're going to be playing a testimonial video now. I believe it should have sound, but if it doesn't, please stop me and I will try and fix that.
And when you can't get into something architecturally as a person with a disability, it means social exclusion. Don't we all want to be a community where there is nobody left out, where everybody's invited to the party? Do we want to be that community, or do we want to be a community where, sorry, some of you can't come in. I know you live here, but you can't come in. By far, the bigger win is when able-bodied people and people with disabilities actually start to gather together, and some of the stigma goes off, and there's interaction that takes place. There's a social mixing that takes place. That's the win. So that's a win-win when you get them in one place. I've watched it for 40 years. You know, we mix able-bodied kids and kids with disabilities, and pretty soon all the uncomfortableness just breaks off, and they start to talk and interact and have relationship.
That was great. Nick's always very passionate, which is fantastic. So let's go over the timeline and the budget and kind of some of the goals and the dates where we have some crucial fundraising goals that we want to try to meet. But again, we need your help to help us collaborate and help you spread the word, become an advocate and an ambassador, and try to make this into reality, because it's clearly there was a lot of thought put into this between Eves and Melissa. I mean, it's awesome. I think it would be awesome for anyone that goes there. So I'm very excited about this opportunity. So let's go through to the next slide in terms of the possibilities in terms of financial. Okay, so first, like I mentioned, the timeline. So the most important timeline that we have to look at is March 31st, 2021. So that's our pledge deadline. That's not when all the money is due. That's just when we need folks to pledge and say that they're in, they're all in. So right now it's November 7th. So we still have time to give in 2020 for tax purposes, if that's our budgeting issues for corporations or foundations. So there's obviously we would love to have money right now, but again, just remember March 31st is our ultimate deadline for 2021, and then moving forward, there's going to be, you can give again before 2021's over for tax purposes. And then also the main drop dead is we need our pledges collected and funds put in to make payment. But the March 31st is what gives the city, PRNS, MIG, it gives them the idea of where we're at. Where financially did we meet our goal? Are we on track? And is this going to become, we're going to go from good, or I'll even go better than good, because I think Eves would say it's better than good, the first project, but we'll just say we're going to go from good to phenomenal. So March 31st is our pledge deadline, and you'll be hearing a lot more from us, and we would love it if you would help spread the word on that. So, and again, we'll have questions about that going forward, or if you have them in the chat. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Okay, so here's the concept. So ultimately, we know that we have a great concept in concept one that's already been paid for. It doesn't, we could just kind of say, hey, it's I don't really want to waste my time, and I have other things to do, which we know we're not going to do that. And then the next concept is adding the elements that Melissa talked about in terms of the zip line and expanding the existing footprint. But what I'm really excited about mostly, and I see it at the Playgarden downtown from Rotary, is the slide, the hill function, the feature, and just expanding the park. I think it's fantastic. So the best part is ultimately we need $5 million, right, to get this project done. It's a lot of money, but we already have 1.3 million of it. So, you know, we're already quite a ways there. So this is the difference in what the different concepts look like. Obviously, we know concept one, Eve spoke about it, the fiber, new fencing, some more added features, and just kind of retuning it and getting it up to where it can be just a complete refresh. So the second concept, so you can see where we're going to add a better, more resilient surface. So it won't need the maintenance, it won't need to be continually maintained, and then there have better fencing, a larger spinner, just more features. And I do, you know, Melissa, on those drawings with Bird Island and the nest, that's very cool and inspiring. And then also, because this is all inclusive, and it's not just, you know, it's not just handicapped people that are younger, it's also folks like my parents who, you know, it's hard for them at 80 years old to go see their grandkids in the park and walk on Tambark and walk down a step and just go out and play with their grandkids. So this is what we're trying to accomplish, is how do we make this accessible to everyone? And that's kind of the bottom line. And then the phenomenal, which I know we can do, is it's adding that hillside slide. It's adding a staircase wrapped around. And then for most folks, which I hadn't really thought of, but we talked about it quite a bit, was new bathrooms. And it's new bathrooms for folks that need extra help, whether it's handicapped children and they need extra space, or older folks that need extra space using the restroom. So it's going to be individual family-sized restrooms. So like you would see at other places, not just individual restrooms. And then also thinking about the parking lot in terms of making it more accessible, whether it's for more handicapped folks with that have accessible vans, or just some other folks that need just some more space to get in and out of their car with their child or with their grandchild, or just for them if they just want to walk around the lake. So again, to me, I'm pushing for the phenomenal, and I think that we can do it with your help. I know we can. So let's go on to the next slide.
So Ken, I wanted to pause here and just ask everyone in the audience to put in the chat, do you think we can raise the $5 million collectively as a community? And if everyone can just take a second or raise your hand, say yes, no, you could chat with us privately. We just want to know. We're getting some private chats here as well. We can do as a community. Let's go. Terrific.
What's the timeline again on the 5 million?
So
We
for
have to, yeah, go ahead.
by March 31st, 2021, the pledges have to be made, not necessarily payments made, just pledges. And the PRNS and MIG will design, will make their designs based on that amount. So basically March 31st, 2021 is the short answer. And I don't know, Eve or Melissa, if you want to comment on that.
No, I think I'll just reiterate, giving us as a project team the certainty of budget allows us the certainty to frame a scope. And so March 31st does come up early in the new year, but it's that way we can continue designing with certainty that we are building towards that budget.
And we have about 1.3 right now.
We have 1.3, yes, and that is supporting the current concept.
So then we need about 3 million by March in pledges, roughly.
3.7. We actually have a slide for that, Greg.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go to that, the next ones, those slides?
Oh, Adrian, we'll skip that for a quick second. Let's go to the yeah.
Okay, so great question. This is where we're at. So like I mentioned, thankfully for the hard work from PRNS and from the county and from the council office with Johnny Camus, mostly Michelle, we know what a driving force she is. We are at a $5 million goal, but we're 27% of the way there. So we have 1.3 million plus in some change, and this is what we need to do. So again, our goal is to go out and go get pledges. We don't need to have them write a check by March 31st next year. We just need to have them pledge. So this is where we're at. So certainly to me it's doable, but I just want everybody to see this is where we're at. So again, once we start getting some pledges and getting some more commitments, then we'll know where we're at. But we need to give Eves and Melissa, this is where we're at March 31st, so that they can know that they have extra money to work with, and this is what the design is going to look like. So that's because it is a long process in terms of getting things going and the construction and all that. They just need to know budget wise where are we at, and it's, in all fairness, I can't imagine Melissa and Eve at the deadline before construction, they're like, hey, we just found an extra 400 grand, what can we do? So we're just trying to get all this stuff in. Eves, you had something?
Yeah, sure. If someone threw $1 million at us, we wouldn't complain. But
yeah,
but I'll tell you one. A very important party in this is the Santa Clara County, the grant program funders for the current project. We have gotten a lot of liberty from them to extend our deadline because they believe in this project and this effort. But if we're not reaching that goal, we do have a financial responsibility to the county grant. So we want to act on that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's does that answer your question, Greg?
What that means is we have to give the money back if we don't get it done on time. We have to give the money back. So that's the obligation.
Thank you. Yep.
And who wants to do that? Okay, do you want to start those?
It can be very isolating to have kids with special needs and who don't have the same abilities. And it's hard to meet other families who, can relate. But I think the playground is sort of like the watering hole where families go. And that's where you meet other parents, you meet other kids. And that's where I think the community is really being built.
So many of these families have a multitude of different responsibilities that they have to do above and beyond your typical family. And this is one way to make their lives easier and more, allowing us to appreciate them a little bit more and giving them the same opportunities that our own children have when they go to the park.
If I think about, seniors in the Almaden area, I'd say that we have one of the most active senior associations in the entire city. And consequently, we're going to have a very great amount of usage of that park by them that will really enhance the quality of life that they have out here.
But also to have a place where everyone can come. And I'm talking from your baby swings to your grandparents. Because again, a lot of these kids are limited not only in their movement and the amount of movement that they get, but the interactions that they get. And so to have a place where a child with cerebral palsy or a child that has sensory issues can be pushed in a swing with their grandmother, or can climb up a ramp with their grandfather is amazing and huge. You're making a tremendous difference in not only this child's life, but the entire family's life.
This is an investment that is going to pay dividends in our community for years and years. It's investing in a generation of children to know that they're loved and cared for and that they are worth our resources.
Perfect. That couldn't have said it better ourselves. Those are members from our community that will directly benefit, much like all of us will directly benefit from the park, whether it's us going, whether it's us going with family members. So, so that's where we're at. Again, we are at 1.3 million and we're trying to add 3.7. Okay, so this is where we're at. I mean, in terms of if we're out talking, if we're advocates, if we're thinking about ourselves, there's going to be, if you've been to the Rotary Playgarden downtown, there's a donor wall. There's going to be many opportunities throughout this park in terms of naming opportunities. And these are just some of this just shows you some of the gifting schedules in terms of what a gift would look like. So at $1 million, that would pay for 20% of the entire project, right? Or if we go out and say, hey, I'm going to commit to getting 10 people to donate $50,000. So that's 86% of the entire budget. So that's where we all need our help from all of you. Our Rotary Club has worked with many of you throughout this valley on various projects, and this is where we're asking you to come in and help us. As Matt said, this is a once in a generation project that we're trying to accomplish, and I think that we can. Okay, next slide. So again, this is what we're asking for you. We're asking from you to, as we've called it, this is a fundraiser. So most all of you are our friends in the community, our neighbors, people we've worked side by side with. I see folks from the YMCA on here. We, like many of you, we've worked side by side on various great projects. So what we're asking for you is we're asking for you to be an ambassador, for you to be a cheerleader, for you to help us out in this project in some way. So whether it's your time, whether it's a talent that you have helping us out in certain areas, whether it's helping us make phone calls, helping us, reach out to different groups, making presentations, or donating money, or all three, hopefully all three. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Whether it's working with corporations, if you have any contacts, any friends that work with foundations, whether it's folks in your group, whether it's a coffee club or a coffee group that you meet with in the mornings, or anything, any of your neighbors, we're just urging you and begging and asking for you to help us raise money for this project. And I know there's several folks from service clubs on here. So again, much like we did with the Almaden sign, we're asking you to help get in on this project and help show the rest of the city and help show the community what our clubs do, how we impact Almaden Valley and in San Jose in general. So that's really what we want you to help us out with. So so on that, so we're, obviously we would love for everybody to write a check today, which would be fantastic and we could be done, but we know that's going to be a hard chore down right now. But what we're really looking for is just your commitment to saying that I'm in to help. I want to help get to this level. The one that's going to just be there is going to be great, but let's try for the phenomenal one, right? Let's go for the phenomenal one. So I just want everyone to remember March 31st is the deadline for pledges. We don't have to have the money again, but that's when we have to have pledges to give Eves and Melissa and say, hey, this is where we're at financially. So then they can get started on their process, because it is quite a long process. So we've heard from Councilmember Camus, we've heard from Councilmember-elect Matt Mayhem, we've heard from Eves, Melissa, and again, we're going to have questions at the end. We've heard from our neighbors, our friends via testimonial, and you've heard from me, and there's several members of our Rotary Club on here. So if you need to hear from them, we will certainly reach out to you. We will certainly help do a presentation. If it's at a service club, if it's at a community center, if it's at a group, we're willing to do whatever it takes to get the word out in terms of being able to raise the funds. So I think now we just need to, if you have any more questions, that's great. We'll get them at the end, but I want to just hear from you guys. How do you feel about this? Are you in terms of, are you committed? So I guess with a show of hands, or if you just want to unmute yourself, you can just tell us briefly how you feel.
Hey, Ken, let me speak on, I'll take off my council member hat and put on my president of the Almaden Valley Kiwanis Club. I can tell you that our board voted and we are committed to raising money for this playground.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you, Johnny. We can always count on you.
Absolutely. So another friend of ours from a long time, who I know he already expressed his eagerness and excitement about this project, is a longtime Almaden Valley resident and a fan of Ronnie Lott. Robert Bronstein, do you have anything you want to say?
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, it's a great plan. I love what the Rotary did. Down in that downtown area by Coleman is fantastic, and for us to have something great like that here would be wonderful as well. It's a tough time right now with COVID and the economy and people, just not having the money to spend. But in looking at this, I think there are some companies that I deal with regularly that might be able to help out. I will. As an employee of the 49ers, I think this is something that they might want to get involved with as well. So I'm happy to help, and I really would love to see it get done.
Thanks, Robert. That's fantastic. And Robert's got a lot of contacts, and he's been around from a long time. So who else? Does anybody else want to raise their hand and say something?
And we have in the chat, Rich Crowley saying, I'm all in.
Oh,
we
cool.
have Gordon Wong. He will work with his church. They're all in. So if anyone can write in the chat, if you feel like you're all in, please write that in the chat or send it to us privately. And is there anyone else who would like to make any comments?
I would actually like to hear from Gary Kremen or Linda Lizotte, from the Water District and get their thoughts on this. And if you're all still on the call, I'd love to hear from you and seeing if the Water District could commit to this project any funds.
So whoever's sharing their screen, can you stop the presentation if it's over so we can see everybody?
This is Linda Lizotte. So I talked to Johnny a couple of weeks ago because I had the first Play for All built in San Jose in District 1 about 10 years ago. So I'm all in on the concept. With regard to getting the Water District, I can't do anything with regard to making a pledge or anything on behalf of the water district, but I have brought it to the attention of the powers that be. I think that this is something that we can, try to advocate to see what can be done. But it's kind of outside of our mission, although the environmental aspects of it would be probably part of our mission. So it's like I said, I've talked to our staff who's been working with PRNS and some of the leadership over there. So we'll just see where it can go. I'm certainly not opposed to seeing what we can do. I will give it a shot. So thank you.
Perfect. Rich, Crowley, I saw you unmuted yourself. Did you want to say something?
I did want to say something, and that was just to reiterate